There's something for me with painting, and I can't say that in the future I won't get more into photography or sculpture, but for now, and what the calling has been for me is to move in a dance with those materials, with the paint, with the canvas or the wood. There's something really grounding, expansive. It allows for an expression that it feels like movement for me. It feels like a dance. And so that's what I'm called to experience right now.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Beyond the Palette. This is your host, Whitney Rosenson, owner of Art Dimensions in Los Angeles, your one-stop shop for art sales and leasing. My guest today is Lisa Paskel-Rees, a very talented and a fairly new painter on the Art Dimensions roster. She is an absolute joy to work with, and I'm excited to introduce her. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Whitney. I am so excited to do your podcast. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here and taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to me. And how are you today?
I feel fantastic. I took a great walk along the beach and had a great meditation and feel really thrilled to be sitting and exploring this conversation with you.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right, let's get right into it. What inspires you to paint?
Specifically, nature, all the elements of nature, the ocean, forests in particular. Those two experiences that I often have bring a lot of inspiration to my work. Music, poetry. It's an interesting question also because I've only been painting for 2 years, and that occurred because I was surfing in the Indonesian Ocean in a place I probably shouldn't have been surfing. I started surfing at 50, so I'm 55 now. So 2 years ago, I was surfing and had an accident and was dragged under for a very long time. And I came out of that experience with this incredible voice within me that said, "You need to paint." So the inspiration came from an out-of-body experience. Nature has always influenced everything that I do in my life. And, I've had an extensive career as a yoga teacher, a healer. I once owned and helped facilitate 8 yoga studios. And
painting, you didn't feel that painting would always be a part of your life. Not since you were a kid or a teenager. It all began a couple years ago.
In a serious way, painting became part of my life 2 years ago. I remember being a little girl. My mom bought me an oil set. And I remember being in the basement of my house, and I would paint these clowns. I don't know why. And I loved when I was painting, but it never really went further than that, other than painting with my 2 daughters as they were growing up.
Okay, like as a hobby.
Yeah, more of a hobby. Yeah, for sure.
Well, now it's certainly not a hobby. Now it's a full-time gig for you.
It is becoming a full-time experience for me. I didn't start painting to sell my pieces. And within the first month of painting, somebody offered me quite a bit of money for a piece of art. It was pretty interesting, exciting, and still am baffled every time somebody wants to buy a painting.
Well, I know that surfing accident was terrible, but that was sort of the catalyst for your painting. But why not photography? I mean, now that you're 2 years post that, why do you continue with painting rather than photography or sculpture?
There's something for me with painting, and I can't say that in the future I won't get more into photography or sculpture, but for now, and what the calling has been for me is to move in a dance with those materials, with the paint, with the canvas or the wood. There's something really grounding, expansive. It allows for an expression that feels like movement for me. it feels like a dance. And so that's what I'm called to experience right now.
So what materials do you like to work with? You said wood and canvas, but you work with a lot.
I would call myself right now a mixed media artist. I've never had an art class. So for me, all the materials are a playground. I love spray paint, and I incorporate it a lot in the collage pieces that I make, like the Buddha and some of the other pieces that you've seen. I love acrylic. I love oil. There's not a material that if you put in my hands, I wouldn't explore on the canvas or the wood. For a while, I only wanted to paint on wood. There was something really earthy about it. It felt very natural. And now I'm exploring different canvases. I just recently started painting on linen, which is a whole new experience. I'm painting a little more with oil. It's more of a guilty pleasure. I'm painting these naked, bizarre looking women, always with interesting boobies and vaginas
And just by the way, everybody, those paintings are on my website on Lisa's page. It's called Peggy by the Pond.
Peggy by the Pond series. There's about 5 in the series now. You have some of them on your site. And what's interesting about Peggy by the Pond, it was the second oil painting I ever made, next to when I was a little girl painting the clown in the basement of my family home.
It's a beautiful one.
Thank you. But I took more insults on that painting at one time when I put it out on social media. When I first painted it, some people who follow me were so insulted by the painting. And yet it seems that's the painting I sell the most prints of, that people are often very drawn to when I've done some art shows and exhibitions. So I find it interesting how subjective art is and how it affects different people
in different ways.
Yeah, for me, that was an incredibly authentic, emotional painting when I painted it, because I had never worked with that medium. And
Right.
I felt that the painting itself was my own vulnerability on the canvas.
Okay. Now, is that because it's a nude and it's a figure, or is that because of the state of mind you were in when you were painting it, or both?
I think it is a bit of both, Whitney, but it's the exposing of our fragility, our imperfections, the openness of, I want to say the character, but isn't the character, aren't we always the character as well? People say, oh, is that a self-portrait? Yes and no. Emotionally, yes, of course. But is that my actual body? Well, the truth is, if I'm honest, I took a bunch of naked pictures of myself in the mirror, legs spread wide, so that I could understand. I never painted a body or a face. So I needed to see how the lines work. So yes, there's some reality to it in the physical form, but it's more the emotional component of that openness,
The rawness.
the way the paint formed. And the thing that I was given a hassle about is the thing that I also love most. I might eventually take some art classes or explore how to use mediums differently.
Okay.
But for now, the experience of being raw in them is so exciting for me, because I don't know the bounds. I don't know what's correct or incorrect. I'm
And yeah.
only moving in the experience through what feels intuitive. And when I'm present in that experience, it's very emotional for me. I've often cried while painting. I've gone through emotional releases, feelings of shame, even, explored that while painting. There's just so much that comes up. It's really quite
It's
exciting.
remarkable. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's so evident in your paintings how much emotion is there. I mean, the colors and the textures and the symbolism and the nudes in the Peggy's by the Pond series, it's all so enticing. What do you hope people will get from your paintings?
My paintings tell a story. And so it's my desire that they find their own story in the experience of the painting, not necessarily my story. So in my paintings, there's a feeling for me of the duality that I experience as a spiritual being living in a human experience, and where that line is, where that compartment separates, but is it separate? So that my paintings, whether it is a Peggy by the Pond or a piece like the Buddha or Intentional Souls, there's this experience of the connection to nature, the connection to our material desires and greed in the compartments of our mind, and then that release into the enlightenment, the spiritual being that we are, in that connection. So I just hope that people have some value when they experience a piece, that they're experiencing some value in themselves that offers them the opportunity to maybe ask themselves the question, why am I here?
I love that. That is, I mean, I know Da Buddha does that for me. And Da Buddha is on my website, everybody. Lisa's page, you on the homepage, you just click where it says artist in the upper right-hand corner and scroll down till you see her name, and then click on her thumbnail and it'll take you to her page. You're so intuitive and you're so evolved. You know, I know you taught yoga for many years, but does your yoga experience affect or contribute to your painting experiences? Like, does having been a yoga teacher, does that influence your art?
It's not about being a yoga teacher. It's the experience of the practice of making connection and the release of resistance. So the yoga practice is the release of resistance to create the opportunity for a deep, meaningful connection with what I consider to be my inner being. I can't separate painting from that. They're one and the same. It's the same connection and expression. I can tell you when I'm in resistance and not connected, I shouldn't even paint in those moments of my life, because the only thing that will come is me pushing for a result. And I don't paint
for that in that
push
way.
for a result. Yeah. You asked me what inspires my painting. I really want to say that my mother has really inspired me as an artist. She is a needle worker. And when I was younger, I remember her doing these charcoal sketches of flowers. And I thought she was so brilliant and so beautiful. She's still alive and amazing. And she does these elaborate needleworks. And I was thinking about how she inspires me. She never follows the pattern. She takes these needleworks, the pattern, and she makes them their own, and they're so divine. I happen to have a few of her pieces in my house, and I was really thinking about how much she influenced me. Is still such a creative person. Yeah, she really is.
So her work is up in your house. I know some of your paintings are up in your house.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else that you like to exhibit or show in your home?
I have a lot of eclectic pieces, shamanistic pieces, Native American pieces of art, Eastern Indian woodworking pieces of Ganesha. I grew up in a home when we were younger. We didn't have a lot of money. And then my dad's business became very abundant. And my mother and my father loved to collect art. So I had an Andy Warhol in my house, and, you know, everything from something that you could possibly pick up at a flea market. So I had a good appreciation for art, but I don't like to have a lot of things around me cluttering my space.
Right. Well, that's better for your feng shui.
Feng shui. Not much into feng shui.
Well, if you don't like clutter, and your paintings are also, even though there's a lot going on in them, they're very clean. To me, they're very organized. Why is that important to you?
There seems to be a pattern in the way that these lines unfold, and these sections seem to come together on the canvas or the wood when I'm working. There's 3 sections that tend to appear in the paintings. They overlap one another, but they represent what I would call our spiritual experience, nature, and industry. And then the collaboration, the intermingling, and then the separation of those things. Again, back to the duality of how we exist in our human, in ourselves every day.
I love chatting with you. I just want you to continue painting. And, I feel like it's only been a couple of years, but you are growing so much as an artist. You have exhibited at a few different art fairs, which has been, what kind of experience has that been for you?
I have participated in two major art fairs and a smaller one. I have mixed feelings about it, quite frankly. There's something exciting about experiencing the work right in front of me and the feedback. And the last show I did literally is a 4-day show. I had 3 people at different times come in and cry in my booth because they said they had an emotional experience to the work. And one lady in particular was really moved by a piece called Time Passages, which is the experience of a total life, someone's total life, and from birth to death, and all the relationships and the emotion in between. And she felt it. And that was really powerful. For that reason, I really enjoy exhibiting. I don't like the business of the art fairs and the hustle and bustle of that experience. I feel like a salesperson working out of a suitcase, And
Which
I,
you did not, I did not feel that from you.
I probably give more away at the fairs than people buy. At the last fair, I sold quite a bit, but I have this belief that for every painting I sell, I want to give something away. And I do. And I think it's really important. So that's a good experience to do that in as well. I usually do it by anonymously sending somebody something, but at the fair, I can actually hand something to somebody and the look on their face. And it's really satisfying for me. And I think it's very satisfying for them. So it's mutual. I personally think more artists should give stuff away because we're too attached to things. And it really helps me with attachment. It's a ton of work to, bring all the pieces set up. It's a big financial investment. And
All right. So you have mixed feelings about.
I do have mixed feelings. I think my preference would be to continue to do commissioned work and to be in galleries. Ultimately be in galleries. I don't mind sharing the abundance for the piece. So if somebody's, doing work to help me sell the art, then they should be well compensated.
You're so special. You're such a joy.
Thank you.
I want to wrap up a little bit, but I do want to ask one last thing, which is, do you ever get painter's block? And if you do, how do you deal with it?
Well, I wouldn't call it painter's block. There's days I don't feel as vibrationally in tuned with my best self. And so I don't feel inspired to paint. Every once in a while, I might in that space to see if I can break the resistance of whatever it is I'm experiencing. Ask me in 10 years because
Okay.
I've only been painting a little over 2 years. I have this excited feeling in me every day. I can't wait to get to the studio and paint. And the worst part about that, Whitney, is I have so many paintings. I'm running out of space.
You need a bigger space. Are you going to your studio today? I'm just curious.
I am going to go to the studio today because I've been working on this 2 pieces. I've been working on a piece that has Einstein and Prince in it, another collage piece.
Oh, nice.
And I'm also simultaneously working on this oil painting, which is a vase of flowers on a linen canvas. And I'm not really sure. So maybe I am a little stuck because I'm not sure if it should be done or not.
If it's completed or not. Yeah.
Yeah, I usually know intuitively when something's done, and I'm not feeling that yet. So I walk into the space and look at it. I think it's because there's a lot of linen showing in the painting, and I'm used to covering the entire
Canvas.
palette. Yeah, the canvas. And so
Hearing you say that, I would say, okay, the painting is not done.
probably not. That's the other exciting piece of this, Whitney, is that for me, every day is a learning process.
Exactly.
And it's fun because it doesn't involve my ego because I don't know, because it's all new for me. And I love that I've had the opportunity to find this in my 50s rather than my 20s or teens or 30s because I don't know. And so it just continues to be exploration. I think as soon as I know, I should probably quit.
Yeah, but there's that wonderful saying that, well, the older that you get, the less you know.
Yeah. It's the greatest gift, isn't it?
It is a great gift. It is a great gift.
Yeah. You're inspiring.
Oh, thank you.
You're a joy.
You're so sweet. This was so much fun. Thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast today.
Thank you, Whitney.
I hope we can do it again. And be sure to, everyone listening, be sure to check out Lisa's fantastic paintings at artdimensionsonline.com. And also, please rate and review this podcast, which will help expand our reach. You can do that on Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much to Lisa and to everyone out there listening. Happy Hump Day and happy creating.